Hi, ninth grade English. I'm here to review Odyssey module number 2 and give you directions for how to complete Odyssey module number 3. I hope everything is going well. It seems that the vast majority, 95% of you, are getting things done, getting things turned in the right way, some on time, most on time, some not. That's still okay. You still get an extended deadline if you need it. So it's good to see that you're making the appropriate amount of progress as you work through this module. These modules, several of them. On the screen, you will see Homer's Odyssey module number 2. This is the one that you just submitted by midnight on Saturday. The writing focus, using commas appropriately, that was it was a pretty good reflection of your knowledge. Essentially, something we had gone over before, a review for you. Here, the second section of the text, and having the reader, excuse me, having the teacher read and explain, I think is very, very helpful. I hope some of you use that. And if you found that to be helpful, expect more of that as we move through the next several modules. This is a good video to check out if you haven't done it already. It actually gives you a visual of Polyphemus, the Cyclops, when Odysseus ventures into his cave. Looking at the Cyclops study guide questions, I'm going to open them up on the screen. Oh, there they are. On the screen, we're going to check out number 1. Why does Odysseus lead his men into the Cyclops cave? On page 898, it says it's Odysseus's famed curiosity. So he's curious about what kind of creature this land can sustain. So they see these giant footprints that look larger than a man. They're actually giant footprints, and it's Polyphemus is his cave, the Cyclops cave, and that's where they go, and it's this curiosity that leads them there. Number 2, name of the Cyclops. Well, right here on page 898, remember I'm finding the quotes from the text. That's what's highlighted in yellow for us. The quote from the text really demonstrates that you looked through, you found what you needed to find, and you can prove that that's accurate. On page 898, in his next adventure, Odysseus describes his encounter with the Cyclops named Polyphemus, Poseidon's one-eyed monster son. Okay, that just so happens to be the answer to number 3 as well. Poseidon's one-eyed monster son. Okay, so page 898 would be the same quote. There may be 1 or 2 other quotes you could use to prove your answer there. The most unique feature of the Cyclops. Well, you guessed it. It's the same answer. One-eyed monster son on page 898. Okay. There's another line you could have found that you could use as far as Poseidon having one eye and that being explained in the text. But 898 is the one I chose for the answer key. Okay. Number 5. Why can't Odysseus and his men just kill the Cyclops while he's sleeping in the cave? Well, let's think about this. Cyclops, what do we know about them? Or Cyclopes, what do we know about a Cyclope? Well, 1, giant eye, middle of the head. 2, huge. They're giants. Okay. If they're giants, they're living in larger places than we can live. So the doorway into the cave, and this is mentioned in the text, the doorway into the cave is actually a giant slab, a big slab. So when Odysseus and his men are in there, they find that the Cyclops has cheese and wine, and they decide to indulge and eat some of that cheese and drink some of that wine and relax a little bit because they've been on quite a journey and they need some rest and some relaxation. So they're hanging out there, and as they do that, the Polyphemus shows up, slides this big stone, this big slab over the doorway, and he essentially locks them in. Because if the Cyclops is superhuman, larger than life, that means that these men can't just move that stone out of the way. They need the giant to do that. So that's why they can't just kill the Cyclops while he's sleeping in the cave. On page 902, it says, if I killed him, we perish there as well, for we could never move his ponderous doorway slab aside. So Odysseus has to figure out a way using his epic qualities, his knowledge here and his skill and his tact are above the level that ours would be considered to be. So he's a little bit more impressive than we are as far as a human is concerned. He's obviously an epic hero, but he's an epic hero for some different reasons. That's one of those reasons. So he has to use his knowledge, his skill, his intellect, his ability to think, and he tricks the Cyclops. And what he does, well, we're not there yet. And what he does is allows the Cyclops to uh, consume a bunch of the wine that's in there, and he essentially gets the Cyclops to pass out. And as the Cyclops is sleeping, Odysseus and his men sharpen a stick, uh, and by stick I mean large timber, like telephone pole size is what you want to think. Maybe not that large, but it's a large timber. They sharpen it, they stick it in the fire to harden the point, and to keep that point hot, and it's glowing. The tip is glowing. A sharp timber. It's glowing hot. And what they do is, instead of tapping the Cyclops on the shoulder and saying, "Hey, buddy, wake up, Polyphemus, we're ready to get out of here," Odysseus and his men, while this Cyclops is sleeping, oh, by the way, the Cyclops has eaten one or two of Odysseus's men already. And what he does, Odysseus and his men, what they do rather, they grab this timber and they jam it into the eye of the Cyclops. And that is how they find their way out of the cave, because at that point the Cyclops wants to move that slab, that doorway slab aside, and call for help because he's now blinded. Let me show you in the Odyssey module. In the Odyssey module 2, let me show you an image where this is actually portrayed from the text. So on the screen that you see here, wait for it. On the screen that you see, there's the Cyclops. So here would be an image of the actual Cyclops, right? And notice it says Ulysses, Odysseus, same person. They have these skins of lamb on their back, so that when the Cyclops, you can see, he's sort of blinded here, and he has this giant rock, and he's moved the doorway slab out of the way. When he feels down, he feels and thinks that they're goats or sheep when they're on their way out. But before that happens, there's another image. That's not what I'm looking for. This one right here on the jug is one. I think that's the one. Let's go back up and use that one. Couldn't preview file. Great. Okay, so let's look then at this right here. Let's see if I can circle it for you. There we go, right there. Do you notice 1 soldier, 2, 3, 4, and then a Cyclops? They're holding this long timber, this one right here, okay? And this is from a hydria, or a water jar, from way back when, 530 to 510 BC. And this story we're reading is so culturally relevant. It's a cultural epic in Greek culture that in other parts of culture, like art, like you see on your screen, some of these scenes are depicted because what Odysseus goes through represents what it means to be a strong Greek hero, a strong male figure in Greek culture. And that's portrayed in many forms of art, this being one of them. But this is how the men blind the Cyclops. There's another one right here. Again, an artist's rendering from a Cyrenian cup. Okay, so not a water jar this time, but again, this is ancient, 6th century BC. They're giving him his wine. You can see it right here. They're getting the Cyclops intoxicated, so he loses his senses. And they have this timber that goes through, and it's going right into his eye. But check this out too. See these legs? He's holding them. The Cyclops is holding them in his hands. He has eaten a man or several men, and he's holding his legs. So it's showing us that scene through art. It's kind of neat. Here's another one. This is actually how Odysseus escapes. You notice that here is Odysseus, right? There's his head, there's his sword, there's his body. On the bottom of the ram, the belly of the ram, he clings to the underside of goats and rams to get out of that cave. So he sticks Polyphemus in the eye. There's a rendering of Cyclops as well. Okay, so he sticks Polyphemus in the eye, and that's how they escape. Polyphemus needs to go call for help. All right, so as he calls for help, Odysseus sort of taunts him. Okay, and Odysseus tricks the Cyclops before all this occurs, and he tells him, for number 6, he tells him on page 903, "My name is Nobody. Mother, father, and friends, everyone calls me Nobody." So Odysseus does that for a reason. You know what that reason is? I hope you were right. That reason is because then when Polyphemus, when the Cyclops leaves his cave and he starts yelling for help from these other one-eyed giants who inhabit that island, Polyphemus is going to be calling, "Nobody has injured me, nobody has blinded me. Help, nobody has hurt me." And when he does that, he's going to sound like a fool and no one's going to help him. So Odysseus sort of has everything planned out. And he does it very, very well. And that's showing his intellect and his skill as an epic hero. So that's the answer to number 6. Odysseus tricks the Cyclops and tells him his name is nobody. And then number 7. What does the Cyclops do after Odysseus taunts him? On page 907, the blind thing, that's Polyphemus, the Cyclops, in his doubled fury, broke a hilltop in his hands and heaved it after us. So he throws a mountaintop at Odysseus and the soldiers as they're getting away. He also curses Odysseus, and he asks for his father the Cyclops is Poseidon, to curse Odysseus on his way home. So he essentially is asking Poseidon to provide treacherous seas for Odysseus and his men. Okay, so again, yes, it's mythology. Yes, it's otherworldly. However, we can take some of what we're seeing here and sort of apply it to our lives when faced with a very, very tough situation. How do we respond? What are the creative ways we look at uh, to get a solution, to get out of a sticky situation? And how can we see what Odysseus did, and how can we try to apply those same sort of things to our lives? And that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing, yeah, Odysseus is an epic hero. He's not just a man, but we can use some of what he's doing in our lives and apply some of this thought process to how we live our lives. So that's the answer key for module 2. Let's look at module 3. Well, that's not it. Let's go back here. Close this. Here's module 3. This is from books 10 and 11. This is what's going to be due at 11:59. Wait a second, Mr. What are you doing? 11:59 p.m. on Saturday. Okay, same as it has been for several weeks now. All right, so as we scroll down, the quick write. Oh, that goes with it. That's neat. The quick write. About a paragraph. Module 3, writing focus, vary your punctuation. Okay, so it's essentially telling you to use different forms of punctuation. It says 3, using a minimum of 3 forms of punctuation. Write about the strangest encounter you've had since transitioning to online learning, or just a strange encounter that you had. Okay, 3 commas in your paragraph, or I'm sorry, not commas. 3 forms of punctuation. Vary the forms of punctuation, please. Okay. The reading portion. This is Circe, is how you say this one right here. So let me have these. Circe and Land of the Dead. They're 2 different sections. They're relatively short sections. That's what's being assigned. This is the actual version of the text that you see on your screen. Momentarily, it'll pop up right there. The witch Circe, please, please, please do not forget that you need to read these pieces here. Okay, some of you are just Googling answers and finding them on the internet. Not the best way to do it. Okay, everything you need is in this format. So this is after they leave the Cyclops Island. Okay, and goes on to page 911 here, and it's only 2 pages for that one, and then we get to the Land of the Dead. Okay, and that one's I think only 2 pages as well from book 11. Okay, so Odysseus is on his way forward with his journey, and he's going to meet the witch Circe, who turns his men into, well, you'll see. And then he's also going to travel to the underworld and the land of the dead and meet Tiresias. Okay, so number 3, the watch portion. These are 2 of the teacher reads excerpts. I can't stress enough the importance of checking these out, especially if this text is causing you difficulty in any way. Check these out. It has a teacher on YouTube with the same book that we use, reading the text, annotating the text, and explaining things. And it's going to make a lot more sense if you check those resources out. Okay? Your study guide questions are here. There's 5 for the witch Circe. Please, please, please attempt to have your answers be lines. Right here it says, attempt to have your answers be lines that appear directly in the text. Some of you are just writing answers down. It's not the best way to do it. Please, please, please try to find those quotes from the text. 5 questions for the Witch Circe, 3 for the Land of the Dead. The module resources are down below. Again, those are incredibly helpful, as are these down here. But module 3, if you're going to check out the video summaries, module 3 is book 10 and book 11. Okay, so those are going to be the two you're going to want to check out for this module. All right, I think I've explained everything. Again, this is where you're going to find it. You're going to go into the classwork tab. It's going to be the Odyssey module 3. The module's right there, and the video of, well, this video that you're watching is also going to be attached to this this module. So that's really all I have for you. If you have questions, you know, to contact me, to reach out via email, you know, my office hours are. I hope you stay safe. I hope you're doing okay. If you have anything going on that you need me to know about as far as adjustments that need to be made or questions you have, reach out. Okay, I'm here to help you in any way I can. If you find that you're overwhelmed with all sorts of things, not just this class, but other classes, reach out and we'll see what we can do. Reach out to all your teachers. If you're feeling that this is too much, then you have to speak up. Okay, don't just assume that we're going to know it's too much or not too much. This is new for us too. So speak up. Let us know what's up. All right. Hope you have a great week, and I will see you next week.